Okay, so headed into this offseason, we are all aware of the 49ers' problems at wide receiver. They really didn't have a single player this year at wide receiver have a elite season. Jawan Jennings was good. Ricky Pearsall was really good, but he couldn't stay healthy. But we are headed into this offseason where Jawan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, and Sky Moore are all headed into free agency, which just leaves injury prone Ricky Pearsall and Demarcus Robinson, who is getting up there in age. So, there's obviously a bunch of different routes that the 49ers could take this offseason to improve their wide receiver core. Taking one in the first round wouldn't be the worst idea. They could take KC Concepcion from A&M, or there are many other options I'm sure that they could take in that first round pick if they want to go that direction. If they don't want to take a wide receiver earlier, they could maybe wait and draft Skylar Bell in the second or third round, who had a really good season this year at UConn. Or what they could do is they could go out into free agency and try and put together maybe not an elite receiver, but put together a group of maybe consistent receivers who can get the job done, but maybe because Ricky Pearsall is hopefully going to be their X factor headed into this season at wide receiver, if he can stay on the field. So try to build around Ricky Pearsall, and that's what got me thinking. And I saw a report the other day that the 49ers would be open to a reunion, and head into free agency this year. Could Deebo Samuel return to the San Francisco 49ers? Now, at first, it might seem like, that doesn't make any sense. He wanted out. He asked to be traded at the deadline, or in the offseason, not the deadline. And it was his wish to leave San Francisco. But right now, with the 49ers having wide receiver troubles and Deebo Samuel headed into free agency, going into his 31-year-old season, could this be something that the 49ers and Deebo Samuel look into? Because Deebo Samuel, he was worried about, his usage, and because there's no Ayuk anymore, because, there's might not be a Jawan Jennings, Deebo Samuel would have a heavy workload if Ricky Pearsall would stay on the field, or it gets hurt again, obviously, which, it's kind of been his whole career has been getting injured. He was injured at Florida. He was injured last year. I mean, he got shot. That's not really his fault, but everything else, I mean, the guy, the guy does not stay on the field. Um, Deebo Samuel isn't the most uninjury prone player. He has his fair share of injuries. However, he had 730 yards last year and 5 touchdowns on the receiving, and he had like 600 yards with the 49ers the season before. So he is still a usable receiver, and I think if they were to go out and get him, because there's no Kittle, the possibility of him not playing week one is kind of 50-50 right now. It's kind of up in the air, but we'll have to see about that. But Deebo Samuel's usage in this offense could get a lot bigger because of McCaffrey's age, and because they need somebody to have those short catches that may not be Christian McCaffrey. And Deebo Samuel, I think, would do that well. I think Deebo Samuel could have a great season if he came to the 49ers and played a consistent role in the offense. I think he could have a great season. I think he could get 900 receiving yards. I think if there's no Jawan Jennings, I think Deebo Samuel could be something that the 49ers look into. I would probably rather than maybe draft somebody young, or they could draft somebody young. They could go get Deebo Samuel, because I'm sure Deebo Samuel knows that his role on a team right now isn't going to be the number one option. He's not going to be an elite receiver next year, but he could be somebody who could be serviceable for the San Francisco 49ers, especially if they've got Pearsall going down, or they've got another receiver who ends up not being able to play. He could be somebody that they could look into. Obviously, they could try to make a trade for AJ Brown, but that would be super expensive, and they don't really need. They've got the pieces on offense. And really in this offense, it's never been about elite receivers. They had Brandon Ayuk. He was great. They had Deebo Samuel when he had 1,400 receiving yards and all those rushing yards in 2019 or 2021. Sorry. But this team is never focused around one player. And I think if they can go get Deebo Samuel and they can go draft a young receiver, you have Pearsall, you have Deebo, you have that young receiver who you might put in the slot, or you might put Deebo in the slot. Deebo will probably end up in the slot because he's not fast by any means. I mean, he's not slow anymore. He's not slow, but he's not the same athlete he was when he was, breaking all those tackles and getting all those yards with the San Francisco 49ers. But he could definitely be somebody that the 49ers look into this offseason. And I think I would be for a reunion, for the right price, obviously, because obviously we don't want to pay him that much money. And I don't really think he's going to be getting that much money from anyone, because he's kind of at the tail end of his career. But he could still be, a usable receiver, and I think in the right system, he could have a great season. And I think the 49ers could be the right system for him. It's all about, does he want to come back to San Francisco after wanting to be out 2 years ago? And who knows? I don't really know what he's thinking. I don't really know what he wants. But it could be something to look into for the 49ers, just to kind of see where he's at and see where things go from there. And if they can get a deal done with Deebo Samuel for cheap, then I think they should do it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.